What is this?
A center for ants?
Well, I must say, for a casual weekend, quite an experience.
You allow this sort of thing in your department, you're basically saying it's okay.
No, I'm saying that I don't care what they do as long as my life isn't interrupted by pointless conversations like this one.
Shut up!
Using his vast knowledge of history and politics, we start our day off right with motivational speaker Richard Battle.
Yeah, we've got him once again, starting our day. Mr. Battle, how are you, my friend?
Good morning, Al. Thank you so much for having us back lead off again today.
It is always a pleasure. Of all the books, do you rate them? Do you have your favorites?
Oh, gosh. They're all my children.
Well, see, and you hear people say that stuff. That this sounds wrong. I rank my kids. Seriously, I do. They'll come in, kid number 1, 2, or 3, and they're like, why am I 3 today? And I said, because your brother gave your mom some extra help with something. I find with competitive boys, it made for a much nicer household. They're always looking for the next step. So I don't have a problem with that myself, personally. But the reason I ask, because as I look at your books and Americans Who Made America, the 18th Century, I love this as my favorite history book. I seriously do. The Unopened Present. We were sitting around, my brother, my stepbrother, and his family came to town, and we're sitting around a fire discussing actually you and your books, and I brought up The Unopened Present and how it affected me and how I think it's intergenerational. For folks who don't know, Mr. Battle wrote 43 things down he wanted to teach his son. He was an old guy when he had a kid, and he wanted to make sure the kid understood all the things it took to be a great man. And unfortunately, that child died like 3 months after he wrote that letter, so the kid never got to read it. And somebody, and it's a great story, we'll get into another, convinced you to write the book, and you made a book out of it. And to me, priceless. I don't care who you are, The Unopened Present, buy 3, 4 copies and start handing them out to people as they're having children. You will affect the world. So that's my favorite book. But
it's very personal.
But it hit, see, how do I put it? When you get raw like that, when you put yourself out there like that, that's when it hits other people. Yeah. A history book, the history book, the AmeriCANS Who Made America. Fun read. You learn a lot about stuff. If you're a history buff, if your kid's into that sort of thing, he'll just love this book, he or she. But I don't know that I could say it tugged at my heartstrings. It was just a nice history book, right? Yeah. So there's differences to them. Yes. So I really, yes. So, but the other favorite of mine, and this is just Al Rankin, Made America by AmeriCANS and not AmeriCANS. To me, this country needs this book as much as anything. Our history is important. I'm not ripping that. But this tells you what it means and how we get this country to go from and what's funny about it, right now, there's half of America thinks, we're making America great again. That we're just off and running. But the other half thinks we're going to the heck in a handbasket. That's why you got to read this book. This is how you turn it around. If you think that's the case, this is what made us great. Anyway, today's topic comes out of this book, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. For personal reasons, The Unopened Present. For the country itself, Made America by AmeriCANS, not AmeriCANS. That is a read everyone has to have. And then if you're just into history like you and I. Is that fair?
Well, I think they ought to bundle them all together.
It makes it easier. One shipment from the Amazon guy. I don't disagree. I don't know if that's overkill, but my point being is my favorite book, if you're going to be an American, is this one, Made America by AmeriCANS, not AmeriCANS. And our topic today is about that and about leadership. Why don't you lead us off with that?
Well, yes, and the inspiration for Made in America by AmeriCANS, not AmeriCANS, came 3 or 4 years ago when I got sick and tired of the government and people telling us what we can't do. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I see people who have a can't attitude and people who have a can attitude. And so I wanted to put something out there to help instill and embolden that AmeriCAN-do spirit, because if you look back in history, I believe the people who made the country successful had that AmeriCAN-do spirit in different ways. And so we put this book of essays out, and it's been very successful. A lot of how-to, a lot of practical ideas that can help people. And then we had the inspiration, well, let's put a series of books out about examples of those people, which is the Americans who made America. And the first one's the 18th century. So today, the topic we wanted to talk about was this evolution, if you will, of using the term leaders, which we used to talk about leaders. And we recognized and thanked and appreciated good leadership. And now every time you turn around, people are talking about quote unquote organizers. And a lot of people don't recognize, but there's a huge difference in those two terms. And using that term organizer to me is detrimental to our republic and our future, because it very much so implies a more socialistic type organization and future.
Oh, absolutely. An organizer. We get everybody together. Everybody gets to put their input in, and we kind of figure out what the group wants. Then you move on. That is, blame Obama, but Obama was our first big community organizer I think anybody can think of. But before then, it was leadership. And when I read leadership, what always gets me, like a sports guy, it's like football coaches. You look at guys who get the most out of their team. They may not have the most talent on a team, but they get the most out of them. To me, that's a leader, to motivate somebody to go farther than they thought they could.
Well, to use a quote from someone who might not be popular in Minnesota, Tom Landry, he said, leaders get people to do what they don't want to do to achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah.
And to use the football analogy, nobody wants to do the workouts, but everybody wants to hoist the Super Bowl trophy. Exactly. And so the workouts are the key. But I think it's a much bigger and broader thing than that. And that's in the leadership. They are out front. They lead from the front, not from the behind. They take the responsibility for the action. Whereas a lot of times the organizers will plant or manipulate people to do things, and then they step back so they don't take any responsibility or heat from the actions that are being taken or consequences. And that's a big difference right there as well. So good leaders will learn from their mistakes. They get respected, and they get additional opportunities through study and experience to grow and lead bigger organizations. Organizers are much more about changing social norms and social organizations and how we think of those than they are the actions and leadership of the future.
As we go to break here, what you're leading me, what is it? Hard times make hard men. Hard men make easy times, or something. And it basically shows you that you go down that. I got to wonder why we go from leadership, wanting to look for great leaders, to great organizers. And I think you hit it. There's no blame. The group came together. The group did this. If it fails, it's not my fault. It's all of us. We did this thing. Where a good leadership is, we're going to do it this way. I'll live and die on this, and it's on me if it doesn't make it. There's just a difference in the downside, right?
Well, imagine on a warship or a submarine having an organizer and trying to manipulate all the social norms and make everybody feel equal's not the right term, equity. They push equity where it's all the same outcome. You can't do that, because when the fur flies, then somebody's got to take responsibility and command. And you can't do that in an organizer situation.
All right, we'll go to break. We'll be back with more. We'll talk with Richard Battle deeper on this right after this.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc. Midwest Money Management and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
There are many ways to explore Alexandria. Some like to experience the outdoors and all the fun winter in Minnesota can provide. Pick your favorite way to get in touch with nature. Others like to explore downtown in the warm comfort of a boutique or gathered around a table with friends. You can do all of that or relax, and do nothing at all. Come explore Alexandria. Start planning at explorealex.com.
Don't need to ask him his opinion more than once. Al Travis on the Al Travis Show.
We've got him, Richard Battle, in talking about leadership, the difference between being an organizer and being a leader. Give us some of the principles of just being a great leader.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was going to suggest, since we have such short time. So
we don't have short time. I spent 5 minutes kissing up to your books. That's why we don't have time. It was on me, bad host.
Well, in this essay, there's 7 principles successful leaders employ to reinforce social norms and positively impact the present and future. That's a key. Yeah. 1, they accept responsibility. Organizers generally do not accept responsibility. And to me, that's a key. When you have responsibility, you act differently than if you don't have responsibility. Look at some of the people in Congress that have no accountability. So they visualize what they want to accomplish and where they want to take an organization. And then they communicate that because they have to get people to buy in to follow them. It may not be a everybody gets to vote situation, but you need buy-in to have everybody pulling the boat the same direction. And they want long-term success more than the short-term success, which to me is a huge difference with good leaders versus leaders who are merely trying to get promoted to the next job or go to the next company. I'll stop there for a minute.
That is so good. When you're talking, I think about when I was in the service in the reserves, and you'd go to Camp Ripley in Wisconsin, or up in Minnesota, or Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, and I was a sergeant. You had these privates out there, you had captains, and you'd go out and have to dig trenches. I mean, you literally have to dig your foxhole. That's what we did. And you're literally telling this young man to dig a hole. He's like, I want to be a dentist. I'm going to dental school. I don't want to dig a hole in the ground. And you have to find a way. And you saw the good leaders in that they were in there digging their own foxholes as well. And the other group, the captain over there who wouldn't dig his own, no one wanted to mess with him. Either you got on board and you led because you said, guess what? I'm not asking you to do anything I haven't done. I dig foxholes in Wisconsin as well. People will follow you and do just about anything. But if you're that guy who says, dig me a foxhole, I'm going to sit over here and watch. People got mad. I mean, leadership is getting in the weeds and saying, hey, I've been there, done that.
Well, that's a good example because it's follow. Follow me means you're out in front and they are behind you. this leadership from behind is nothing but following and letting the people that you're putting out in front of you take the first bullets. And so that is not leadership. And you have to inspire people. Why before how? Why should they do it? That's the first questions little kids learn to ask. Why? And so then you motivate the team to persevere through adversity and challenges, because every team has challenges. And so how do you motivate people to persevere through that and give their best efforts? And that comes from training, repetition. That's why you see, you go out early for a baseball game and watch a team who plays every day still go through their infield and outfield warm-ups every day, because you want that muscle memory to be in there. And that's the training. And then they'll prepare their successors, because for example, in the military, you may get shot. So who's going to take over? Good leaders will do that. And then you reward the team members.
That back to the being an organizer or a leader in the U.S. Army, for folks who don't know, should a sergeant get shot, they know who the next line of succession is, right? The guy who's just under the sergeant, he takes over. You just move right up. It's a battlefield promotion. The organizers, if you will, the Soviet Union, if a captain dies, everyone stops until a new captain is brought down and filled in that hole. It is a cluster. The best thing you do is shoot the highest ranking human you can in a Russian art situation, because everyone under him will just stop until somebody comes in and fills that hole.
That's exactly correct, because if you've got that hierarchy and succession plan set up, that is good leadership, and that prepares you for a loss, an unexpected loss, where there's not an interruption of the pursuit of the goal. And that's the key in any organization, business, nonprofit, family, any type situation, is to be prepared for whatever happens and not miss a lick, if you will, in pursuing that goal.
And look at the difference. You want to talk leadership, back to the war thing. So war is a lot different today than it was in 1776. But George Washington, if you watch any of those movies and how war went, he convinced young men to stand in one long line and literally march straight toward the British guys who are walking in one long line and say, don't shoot until they shoot, or whatever. You just knew if you were in the front line, your chances were like Zippo. You're going home that day. And he could convince people it was for the better good. We don't fight that way anymore. That whole idea, you watch those movies where they just, and then they start shooting each other. It's like, can I hide behind a tree? I'll take a shot. But he was able to motivate people to do that. You could not do that warfare today. People are too smart. It's like, I'm not standing up until the first shot's done. Are you kidding? That's leadership. That's all.
We talked about that. We talked about Lexington and Concord a couple of weeks ago with the shot heard around the world, and that's what the British did. They just kept marching down the road, and the colonists were shooting from behind the trees.
That's when warfare changed. All right, we're out of time. Battle, I love all your books. I've already went through all that. We're hawking The AmeriCANS Who Made America, 18th Century Birth of the Republic. If you're into history at all, this is the book you want to get. It's got 40 people from the birth of the Republic, the 18th century. I'm saying half you'll know, no problem, but you'll find something out you didn't know. The other half, you're going to like, I didn't know that, or you might have heard the name but didn't know anything about him. Battle, I love this book. How do I get it?
Well, richardbattle.com. All copies are signed. If you want some for gifts, and these are great gifts for graduation, birthday, and you may know half, but your kids or grandkids probably know zero. And if you want to make sure they know some of these and they have that AmeriCAN-do spirit, this is a great gift for them. If you email me, richard@richardbattle.com, after the order, I'm happy to inscribe the copies. They're available on Amazon, including in Kindle and audio versions as well.
Fantastic. Appreciate you, my friend. Let's do it again next week.
We'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, that's right. We're missing next Wednesday.
Remote assignment next week.
All right. Go get it, my friend. Appreciate you a ton. Richard Battle,
God bless
the Al
America.
Travis Show.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect